Today we're going to talk about this MPC sample right here. Happy to say, uh, I just picked it up a few days ago. I've been into it ever since, just trying to figure it out. Um, I watched a lot of videos on it. When I didn't have it, it's a little different watching videos of a device you don't have, versus watching it with a device you do have. You really pay attention. Every little intricate detail, means something. And really, shout out to Akai. They have about 30, I believe, about 30 videos. I went through at least 10 so far of just how to navigate and work it. And it really just opens up a whole new world of creativity. This thing is portable. It has a built-in microphone. It has a little speaker. Now you're not going to be able to do a whole lot with this little speaker, um, but it does the job. Like especially in a quiet environment. Like I wouldn't even put the TV on with this speaker because you know you can't really hear much. Definitely on the low end, but hey, it beats not having one at all. And what I noticed is even these cheap headphones, even these cheap $10 headphones, sounds real good when it's plugged into it. You have all these different, inputs and outputs, MIDI in and out. You got your headphones. You can Type C, uh, connect this MIDI. You can Type C with just the MIDI cable, and then you have well, these are still headphone jack MIDIs, not old school traditional MIDIs, and your audio in and out. And you know, this is really a solid unit. It's not much of an open box needed to do because you really just get this. You get this little sheet of paper. I think that's about it, and the Type C to Type C cable. But I can say that I'm thoroughly impressed. I like how it's set up. It's simple, but then there's layers to it. Um, it has a step editor. So you can sequence. There's song. You can put your sounds in the song mode. You got 8 banks, so you can take your time to load your sounds. Got an SD card loaded up, my main sounds, and it just really feels good to be able to take your sounds with you. Like most people, that make beats, producers should have a library of sounds, that you take like from one DAW to the next, to be able to put all your sounds on the SD card and, cook up your beats. There's enough music here if you don't have any sounds or if you don't have an SD card yet or whatever. For the first, I just ordered it on Amazon, the SD cards. It was cheaper, so I just waited a day and I was just playing around trying to figure out how to work it with the sounds that are built in. And they work good. The built-in sounds work good. It's enough to get you going and get started. Yeah, again, I can't speak highly enough. Like I am, for somebody that's on the go, this is the perfect this is the perfect scenario to have. Um, as long as I got extra power packs, and I mean, I'm considered taking a bus trip now. And before this, a bus trip, 4 hours. Like if I went from Phoenix to California, 5 hours, a 5 hour, 6 hours on the bus, I guess total. That's like as far as I'd be wanting to go, you know. But with this could definitely occupy my time during that, you know. So I like it. I like it being able to hook it up with Logic. Now, I still got to figure out how to route this back into Logic. Um, well, I guess I can export it onto the SD card, and then from the SD card, hook the SD card up to the iPad, and then just remove the files that way, and then just open them up in Logic. But I did figure out how to put the Logic sounds into the MPC sample. So when now they have a library of sounds, not only my own sounds, but to be able to bring those Logic sounds in, and I still use Roland Zen Beats. And another reason why I use Roland Zen Beats is that sound engine that's in Zen Beats is a sound engine that's similar to, well, it's the same sound engine as the Junos and your higher end. It has that core that, I forgot what it called, the Zen core, Zenology, or whatever it is. So Zen Beats has that same similar. Uh, so if you really want to get those rolling sounds without spending that top dollar, Zen Beats is a good way to kind of bypass the and I'm not saying to bypass, don't get a Phantom and all that stuff. I'm just saying, if I ain't got 1200 right now, I ain't got 1500 right now, 2000, but if you got it, get it. I always say that, but that's just a way to get those sounds without spending that money. So I will always implement Zen Beats. It would be nice if they had like a third-party plugin for at least one of those instruments, the ZC1. It would be nice if that was a third-party plugin, and then I can just open that up in Logic, But that's another story. So to being able to hook these up together, I cannot complain. I have no complaints. Like I said, the speaker don't really bump like that, but it does what it's supposed to do. Battery is portable. I can fit the whole studio. I can fit my iPad and this in a bag this size. I love this day and age that we're in now. This was like built for me, I feel like. Then this is my first MPC. I had an an Akai MPD when they first came out. That was like the first little MIDI introduction to the MIDI world, and like it had a lot of flaws with that one. And I'm just glad they got better over time. Let's just put it that way. I wasn't that pleased with that unit, but these pads feel real good, professional. They look small. They are small, but they work. They work. They're still smaller than my finger. Like, no, they're not smaller than my finger. My finger is smaller. Like, I can still put my whole finger on these pads, in other words. So I cooked up a little something. Yeah, that was just a little something, and I did all that on the one bank of pads. So then I just got to figure out some things, moving it over, like getting in the song mode, copying, you know, copying this track onto its separate pad, and then putting another, like make a couple more sequences, and then putting them in song mode. But it's like one thing at a time. Once I figure it out, I'll be good to go, because I learned a lot in a little bit of time. You know, because I'm a software MIDI, FL MIDI, Logic MIDI. You know, I never really owned these standalones, but it definitely feels more, you feel more creative when you have these. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, it's going to make you a better producer, you know, but it's just a tool. It's how you use the tool, I guess, you know, I should say. Because, yeah, some stuff, it is like when you want to quantize, or some stuff that just automatically kind of like works in the DAW. You gotta do, you gotta work it a little differently, you know, when you're on these standalone units like this. You know, your counting and your timing and stuff is like, you know, that's more important. But I'll check y'all later. Peace. More videos and all that'll be down the line.